G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a Kilo-141. This is a weapon that has been ported from Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the new one, and it's a weapon that closely resembles the Colt ACR. It has custom sounds and animations that have been ported from the game as well, and a few customization options. Let's get into them now. First of all, we've got the receivers, and this thing can only be fired in automatic fashion, and the best powerful receiver you can get is the auto powerful, giving you 102 damage, very similar to that of a standard vanilla game assault rifle there, which is one of the crafting ingredients, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Legendary slot is there if you need it, and you can throw in a few lasers, 1 milliwatt, 5 milliwatts, or a tactical laser. All of these don't have any distinctive descriptions about them, so usually the 5 milliwatts give you slightly better hipfire accuracy than the rest, and the tac laser, I believe, is when you aim down sights, the laser activates, which sort of defeats the purpose of the laser sight. But what can you do, eh? You can change the stock, and some of these have looks like the Call of Duty, just fluff, the nothing descriptions about them for a little bit of flavor, except for the standard one, which gives you better recoil, so just do what you want. And there's no marksman's prefix on here to indicate that you'd be slightly steadier looking through a scope, so I guess it's just whatever you feel like using. We'll go for a Forge Tac Ultralight one, which is no lighter than the standard one, but we won't worry about that. Alright, so next up we've got barrels. We've got a standard barrel right now. You can have a Whisper, which appears to be an integral suppressor barrel. Slightly shorter, no penalties on range or accuracy or any indications of it being suppressed. There's also a 19.8 inch, not millimeter. That's a barrel, and sure, you get no discernible stat changes. It's the longest barrel, so we can pretend it's going to give us the highest range. And we've gone on to muzzle attachments, which you can throw a suppressor on, flash hider, compensator, muzzle brake, the works. We'll go for a tactical suppressor here. That feels like a nice sound option for a tactical approach. Okay, magazine time. We can have a standard magazine, 30 rounds, 50 rounds, or a big casket magazine, 60 rounds. There's no reason why you'd want to choose anything but the 60 round magazine, so we'll grab that. And we'll go and chuck on some optics now, which are attached via this Picatinny rail. If you've got standard, then you use these iron sights, but they're, I guess, folded down if you're using some of these other sights. So these are just generically named reasonable facsimiles of the real-life things. I saw a PKA or whatever it is. Viper, obviously that's a Cobra reflex sight in IRL, and there's also a few scopes in here for a little bit more zoom in. We're going to throw on something that would make this thing slightly cursed. Western weapon, we'll throw on an Eastern scope because I'm just funny like that. There's the Viper one, we'll throw that on. And next up, we've got something on the lower rail. You can have a bipod if you feel like it, and gives you stability for shooting at range. I don't know if that's even worth it. There's also a couple of foregrips here, including these ones. We'll go for a long Merc foregrip there, and you can change the reticule on this thing. We're going to make it a carrot, because that one's just sort of stood out to me, but there's heaps of things here. Lots of customization, experiment with those in your own time, but for now, we'll just throw on a carrot, and you can throw on some grip tape on the grip to make it more comfortable for the shooter. We'll look after you, don't you worry. And we can have a blueprint, which has these ones, literally putting the blue in blueprint there. Grand Marshal, standard, or this one, which is cringe, and I want it off my screen right now. But if that doesn't tickle your fancy, you can also throw in a couple of camos. Blue Tiger looks nice. There's also red skulls, new wave zebra, pink zebra, tiger skulls, woodland skulls, and zebra again. We like those savanna animals in this mod, I'm getting the feel, but let's go for something like skulls, because, you know, playing as a former disciple, we've got to have that little bit of edginess about us, and it's also black and white. Go Pies. And I think that's it. Damage slider is there if you need it. And since we are playing with standard vanilla game assault rifle damage, I'm going to bump it up. I'm just going to give it a little bit more. 20%. Might make that the option when it comes to using guns that have just got the standard handmade sort of damage. Not handmade, assault rifle damage, because it just really doesn't cut it at an endgame fashion. And you don't want to be here for the next 15 minutes watching me slog myself through Immersive Gunners Plaza, now do ya? And I think that's everything, so I'll make a couple more of these and we'll get started. So like I said, these are craftable on a chemistry workbench, weapons-Kilo-141, and there you go. Or is it 14-1? That probably makes a little bit more sense, less syllables than that. And like I said, assault rifles are in the ingredient list as well as these. You can craft them for gun nut rank 2. Not too bad, sort of mid-game weapon, that tells me. Okay, it's go time. We're outside of the Immersive Gunners Plaza, and I didn't top up my magazine. There's the reload animation, if you're wondering. You'll also notice that the foregrip animations work in first person and in third person, and there's the reload in third person as well. That's cool. Pumping animation is this. You hit him with the magazine, I guess. That's what it looks like to me. And I just got 120 XP for blowing up the car. Actually, I think they took out the bugs out the back that usually cause issues with sneaking, so that's great. Anyways, so I've created this one with a scope, a sniper scope, and I can lay down suppressive fire from back here. I say suppressive fire is because I'm missing, not on purpose. There's a little bit of recoil on this thing, not too much. It's enough to keep you sort of fighting weapon, controlling your bursts, using your brain a little bit, but not enough to make it feel frustrating that you're missing what could be obvious targets. So that's great. So it's a pretty good balance at the moment. One thing I will say about the sounds of this thing, it's really quiet. Like, really, really quiet. And that, although I should say that might be like that because I've been playing Killzone 2 and they'd done the volume mixing a little bit differently. But I get this is a suppressed gun, but we could probably go with a little bit more sound, you would think. But things are going pretty well so far. We've managed to just wipe out a handful of them, like a decent amount, probably possibly a third up to a quarter of them just from sitting in this cheap little sniper spot and racking on the sneak criticals, which is now over and done with. I think they've aggroed the ghoul over there, and now they're all immune because technically they're aggroed by something. Might be able to just help myself out. Might be go time for real in a second. Hold my ground. Okay, now is actual go time. This is the one that's without the suppressor and without the stock with the standard iron sights because, look, I don't need to aim with this thing. But in case if you are wondering what the iron sights look like, I don't know if there's like a tactical use for having the iron sights in Call of Duty. Maybe they save up points on your loadout or something, but you know, I rarely use the iron sight approach to guns, so, you know, we'll do something a little bit different with this thing. So, with the extra damage I gave myself in the massive magazine, I feel like it's a pretty decent approach to a balance on this thing. So, maybe if you do use this at home, I implore you to give it just that little bit of extra damage, but if you feel like, again, that it's just not up to scratch, you can boost it up a little bit, but I'm quite happy with 20 at the moment. Enemies aren't obnoxiously strong, but I'm not crushing them with zero effort, so it's a pretty good measure. Although, I say that again, after playing Killzone 2 on Elite difficulty, and those Hellgas, they'll take a bit of kill and a drop. Pretty much the same as these guys at the moment, so I'm kind of used to that slow time to kill. But the staggers, I think, are working well for me as we continue our assault. Lacking the tankiness, though, the extra agility, the ability to aim with a mouse and keyboard. More the mouse, but feels good to actually be able to move around. Anyways, so the weapon is doing a fairly serviceable job here. I'm not really struggling at all, to be honest. No real sweats happening at the moment. Just sort of relaxed as we go about things. And this scope, the see-through approach, I think is kind of nice because the visual recoil on it is alright. You just go to the moon, that's fine. The visual recoil on it is not obnoxious, but that being said, you still get all of that view around the scope at the same time, so you're not getting tunnel vision whilst aiming down this scope, which is pretty neat, I suppose. We are getting through our 5.56s pretty fast though. 60-round magazines. We're getting through them quick. I only started off with a certain amount, like 2,700 or something. It'd be interesting to see by the time the video ends how much I've got left at my disposal. Alright, so it looks like we've only got the door breach section to go. We haven't even gotten into Nerd Rage yet, which is some pretty good news right there. Also, for some reason, the carrot looks like that, even though I think that's a chevron. I think that's what it's actually called. I'm not sure if that carrot reticule was actually being applied on this thing. Maybe that would be applied if it was a scope. Or maybe it's just the color. It's orange like a carrot. What would I know? I'm colorblind. That was a very heroic effort by that gunner brigadier to stop that guy from taking bullets, but unfortunately he forgot to calculate that I will just be able to reload the weapon and go again. And there it is! Gunner's Plaza has been destroyed, and it's been a pretty good run here. And again, you can use this with classic holstered weapons, and they are worn quite well. They're not too high, they're not too low, and you've got the stock just sticking above your head there, so looking at from the front, you can tell that she's armed to the teeth. Look out, she'll get you. And we've got a bit of user feedback now. The rubberized grip that I put on the pistol grip has stopped any blisters from happening, so better and better, right? Anyways, so we've got a couple of dudes over there. I believe it's a bunch of Rust Devils. He'll make short work of those, but we'll give him a little bit of a hand along the way, I think. And we're really sort of stretching out the range of what this thing can do. Basically shooting at tiny little dots in the distance. But with the recoil on this thing, I'm getting most of the shots down range in a pretty easy way, so I don't mind that at all. And I think he just threw that Mr. Handy to the ground. Try to get some headshots here. We've got a big old magazine, so we can go for those long bursts. Quickly duck out of the way before he gets too fond of me or figures out where I am. Okay, now we're on. And thus begins the slow grind. Now, here's what's going to happen. Swan, if you were to come around the corner at an opportune moment here. Nope, you just... Fine, stand over there. See if I care. I'll be able to just out-tank your rock throws. But I wanted to get a little bit of VATS gameplay going. That's my face, thank you. We've got 5 crits to burn. We're going to burn all of them. Not going as fast as I'd like. That's better. Had a little bit too long of a reaction time there, I think. But now, we haven't had Nerd Rage happen just yet, so Destroy of Acadia would not be activated yet either. So that means we should be able to get active those at the same time. Activate both of those at the same time, and we'll rain the fire of pain on him. But hopefully we don't run out of 5.56s before the fight's over, though. We'll just have to keep a little bit of a watch on that, because if we do, then we're in a little bit of trouble. I've just learned to jump over his rocks now. Okay, that one hit me, and that was I think that one hit me in the knees too, so that's bad. Alright, there's Nerd Rage. And then, instead of going through a reload, we'll bring out our suppressed version, an unsuppressed version without a stock. And then we're going to get a little bit of damage reduction in VATS, just a little bit. And now, if I get hit by a rock one more time, I'm dead. So this time I'm going to take some cover around this tree. The tree cover's working quite well, until it didn't. Okay, well, unless we're sneak critting the whole time, I don't think we can win that fight, so we'll try again. Okay, so this time he's chased a Deathclaw down to the swamp area and has no idea how to get back. So we're going to be fighting him in the swamp area, so no sneaking in front of train carriages for me this time, I'm afraid. And we've got our crits back, so let's use them. There we go, those sneak criticals with the VATS criticals doing in some pretty good work there. You can see that obvious yellow filter as the crits roll in there. That's interesting, but yeah, it's not a very efficient weapon in VATS, which is surprising considering the fact that this one here has that reflex sight, and it's still no better than the scoped version that we had, which is just really weird. But yeah, with sneak critting, this thing will take him down, no problems whatsoever. But, you know, you're not going to be able to sneak crit all the time. Actually, you can, because you can just choose when it's going to be night through the mechanic of waiting. But we've got bigger fish to fry than the Swan, and we might need a little bit of help. Alright, let's finish off this video by fighting a giant Mirelurk Queen. Now, the way we're going to start this off is we'll try to get it as strong as possible. And I've noticed a quirk when using this weapon. By the way, the allies we've got Akira, Carla, and Camille, all Nuka World gang represent. But, the job here is I'm going to aim in third person and get as many sneak attacks as possible using that. Now, I've noticed that there's a bit of a quirk with this gun. For some reason, it'll fire... Clear my line of fire, please. It'll fire a little bit faster when aimed in third person, or just when used in third person in general. And if you don't believe me, look at the rounds go down super fast when I do that. And unfortunately, we're going to get all of us down in like 2 seconds here on this giant Mirelurk Queen broodmother thing. It's like the alien rulers in XCOM 2. They just get ya. They'll never stop attacking you. They got that ruler reaction. Now, the play here is to lure this thing out to a spot where it will take a long time for its pathing to find itself back, like that. And then we can quickly sprint around, try to lure it in this direction a little bit more. Get it halfway through that pond. That's miles out. Okay, let's go for it. There's Mirelurk Queens. There's bloody mole rats flying around the ground, because why wouldn't there be? And get Carla back up as well. And for the love of God, this time, don't try to take on the Mirelurk Queen by punching it, because if you do, you die, and that's just not good for anyone. Although, now that we've split up a little bit, I can safely pick Kira back up, and we get back into the fight there. Okay, we're all back for the moment. Unfortunately, that changed as soon as I finished that sentence there. And there's going to be absolutely no chance that... Okay, now they're all dead in a single pile. So we're going to have to lure the Mirelurk Queen back out here again. And despite its size of being a gigantic building, this thing, it's still confined to all of the quirks of Fallout 4 enemy pathing. So you can, like, take it around dips. I'm guessing... Like, there's a few car wrecks on the ground. It probably wouldn't even be able to get over that. And I think Kira will pick the rest of them up. That'll offer a little bit of a distraction for me to try to capitalize on a little bit of damage. But, we've even got a Mirelurk Queen. We've got a legendary Radroach now. If you got a Furious gun, I'll pick that up and start using that. Doesn't look like that's the case. Okay, looks like Carla's holding her distance for the moment, but... Again, she'll try to get them up to her own peril. She's actually managed to pick up Camille there, and now the Queen's aggroed on me, which means we might be able to get all of us back up to finish the job. There's so many revives and downs in this thing. It's like we're really bad at COD Zombies or something. Alright, the Mirelurk Queen goes down, and that is it. The rest of them we'll be able to deal with. Just like that. Everyone looks okay. No acid burns and no giant head caves in from being clawed by a giant crab. Sweet. Okay, I think we're all fine. And I won't lie, that took like a few tries. This thing is not the strongest weapon I've ever used. If it was a Warfighter version, I think I would have crushed it in 2 minutes. But not this one. This one decided it wants to be a little bit more in line with the vanilla game weapons. But I think you get the idea. That there was the Kilo-141, and it's a good weapon, good ACR, good COD port. If you are attached to this thing in Call of Duty, you really like it, and you happen to be a fan of Fallout 4 as well, then you're in luck. You should download this thing. It's a good weapon. It's basically copied and pasted directly from the games, done really, really well. The only thing it's lacking is damage, but you can fix that if you choose to boost its damage through the slider that it gives you. So I think it's a pretty well done mod all around. Very customizable, plenty of upside to it. So if you like to see this single game, check out the link in the description. She'll be down there. If I find any alternatives, I'll be linking that as well if I can't find a direct port on this on Xbox. Thank you very much for watching, guys.